On the topic of water, but now it's flooding, there is a very high probability that your flood insurance is going to go up if you own property in Charlotte County. 93% of homeowners in Charlotte County are expected to see their flood rates go up. Fox 4 meteorologist Andrew Shipley on the edge of Charlotte Harbor and Punta Gorda to show you why sea level rise is the main issue here. Drew?
A century of sea level rise in 30 years. A new NOAA report came out yesterday, says Southwest Florida could see 1.5 feet of sea level rise by 2050. Not only is that rise coming our area, it's happening twice as fast. Dr. Mike Severese is a professor at Gulf Coast University since 1995 and says we're already seeing the impacts.
A good portion of Southwest Florida has negligible elevation above sea level. And so a small increase, just a small increase in sea level height, even without the storms, is going to have great impact on our lowest lying areas.
Dr. Savarese says with the latest report providing 20 years worth of data, we now have a better idea how bad sea levels could rise if we don't take action as a planet. He called it a clarifying moment.
What it's telling us is now we have a better sense as to what sea level rise is going to do or how it's going to behave in our region, as well as all other regions in the coastal contiguous United States. So managers have better information.
And better information. County and city managers can plan for sea level rise in future development, with much of Florida at or near sea level. Unfortunately, the current sea level rise is already causing sunny day flooding in places like Miami and even Everglades City at least one time a year. Dr. William Sweet with NOAA says that these floods will happen more commonly.
Fast forward to 2050 and things change. That extra foot of sea level rise, all of a sudden those 2-foot floods that are mostly disruptive that are happening maybe once a year or so, they're happening more than 10 times a year.
Dr. Savarese says we can adapt to sea level rise through 2050, but he has real concerns beyond that.
I think we can adapt to 2050, 2060. What happens through the rest of the century, though, is probably, assuming we continue to follow the intermediate high curve all the way to the end of the century, then we're talking about situations that are not adaptable. And we're talking about, managed retreat.
So we think in the long term, another 1,000 years, right? We may be several meters higher than we are now. But just how fast that occurs, whether or not that's actually going to happen, is really collectively in our hands. We have the ability to stem the flow now to sort of prevent those higher worst case scenarios from occurring.
Dr. Sweet says it all comes down to emissions. More emissions equals more heat, which equals more ice well, which eventually equals more sea level rise. Curbing those emissions will be all the difference. Reporting in Charlotte Harbor, meteorologist Andrew Shipley, Fox 4.
And you're